Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today for this anxiety workshop. Anxiety is something we are all feeling. I don't think I've talked to anybody that seems to be escaping really high levels of anxiety, especially brought on by the pandemic, the economic outfall. But in all honesty, we were really struggling with anxiety as a society before COVID. So I thought I would give this workshop to help put some framework around anxiety. What is it? Why do we have it? And what do we do with it? So I'm going to take you through some of the stuff that I've learned in my lifetime that has really helped me rethink my relationship to anxiety. I would like to first start with a meditation, just to ground everybody and to help dilate everybody. Some of you may have heard me say this, but there's two basic states of being. There's dilated, where we feel open and relaxed, and there's contracted, when we feel tight. Every single thought, feeling, or action leads us to one of those two states. So when I was young, living in my car, when I was homeless, I was having panic attacks. I was agoraphobic. I had constant anxiety, unmanageable levels. And so when I realized there was these two basic states, dilated and contracted, and that every thought, feeling, or action led to one of those two states, I began to keep a journal. And that's something that I would like all of you to do. In fact, I would love you to make a commitment right now to starting to bring some mindfulness around your mental health and your emotional health. And I'd love you to start with this exercise. When you feel really tight, I want you to stop and take a second and get your little notebook out or put a note in your phone and say, what was I just thinking, feeling, or doing that didn't agree with me? Because anxiety is, I see it in one of two things. The first reason that we can have anxiety is because we're not present. The way that I describe that is like a small child that's left home alone and its parents aren't there. The child's going to be really anxious because it knows there's no adult in the room. Our anxiety is kind of like that. If we're not present, if our thoughts are constantly in a future that hasn't happened or obsessing on a past that is no longer here, part of us becomes very agitated, very concerned, and for good reason. Because the paradoxical thing about anxiety is we want to stay safe. That's why we're worrying. We're worrying in an effort to keep ourselves safe. But paradoxically, it robs you of the only moment you have to stay safe, which is right now. I don't know if any of you meditate or can relate to this, but I know a lot of people, myself included, that I would meditate and be like, oh my gosh, I got this. I'm good, I'm evolved, everything's good. And then I walk out the door and step on a Lego and I'm right back at, dang it, the anger's back. We need to be able to change our habits. And meditation, again, helps us build this muscle. But then I like to do what I call mindfulness in motion. We have to have practices that we practice every day that help us build new habits. So to be consciously present outside of meditation, a really simple thing is be observant and curious. Because it's impossible to be observant and curious and not be present. Because for me to notice that the table here is white and this camera that I'm looking at is black, I have to be present to notice those things. A lot of people tell me they can't meditate. And when I ask them why they think that, they say, well, I can't sit still, or my head just keeps racing. That doesn't mean meditation isn't working. Meditation is just a willingness to come into the present moment for whatever it is. We're not trying to control it. It's just coming in and being willing to force your body to sit still and maybe count to 10. I want to run you through a really simple meditation practice that we can all do together that's very simple. Anyone can do it. I'm going to breathe in and count that as 1. I'm going to breathe out and count that as 2. Breathe in and count that as 3. Feel free to breathe at your own tempo. Feel comfortable, get somewhere comfy. Close your eyes and we'll begin. Each breath is a number, counting starting with 1. That was 6 breaths, and I already feel really different. You can even hear that my voice has changed. I'm always amazed. Every time I take a deep breath, I'm committing to being alive. I'm committing to being right here. And I think that's really beautiful. So close your eyes. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Unlock your jaw. Here we go. As you're doing it, maybe let out a sound or a sigh. Now continue breathing in your nose and out your mouth, unlocking your jaw. And I want you to imagine that you're walking through a field. What kind of day is it? Is it sunny? Is it a beautiful, breezy overcast? What does the field look like? Is it a small little opening in a giant forest? Or is it a big bounding meadow you can't see the end of? But it's a beautiful clearing. Is your grass tall or is it short? Is there water running nearby? In this imaginary field, I want you to pick something up and put it in your mouth. I grew up in Alaska where there was Timothy bluegrass. I would pull a stalk out and chew on the green tip. But maybe it's some sage in your field and you can smell that. You don't have to taste it, you can just smell it. Or pick a flower up and smell it. But let that sensation of smelling or tasting that fill your body. Imagine the color and see the color of that object that you've picked up. Now look off into the distance and you're going to see a giant, beautiful tree. A single tree standing in the middle of this beautiful field. I want you to walk toward it. You're going to hear the birds singing. Feel the breeze on your skin. And make your way up to that tree. And I want you to sit it down at the base of it. Make yourself really comfortable where you can really feel yourself leaning back into that tree. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths, listening to the sounds in your field, feeling that breeze on your skin, leaning up against that tree. I really love that meditation. A friend taught it to me, and I thought it was so profound to be able to choose each day to walk into this field and experience this place where I don't have to do something in exchange for love or energy or nourishment energetically. I don't want you to be here today and hear this as a philosophy but not practice it. So even if you commit to saying, I will take 10 breaths every day as a meditation, commit to something. Because a lot of our anxiety, which for me here is the second cause, anxiety is not our enemy. It is our ally. We want to come into harmony with our anxiety. And I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive. What we have a typical, tendency to do is say, I feel anxious. I want to push it away. I want to push it away from me. I get really impatient and I don't like that about myself and I want to disassociate from that aspect of my personality. Well, it's never going to change if we do that. And in fact, it usually has to get more and more pronounced until we deal with it. Energy can never cease to exist. We can only change energy. To be able to figure out how to change it, we have to understand it. And that means we have to bring it close. We have to come into harmony with it. So when I started to look at my anxiety as an ally and not an enemy, it really changed my relationship to anxiety. I had so much anxiety, I thought something was wrong with me. I thought something must be defective about me. It made me think something was wrong. But then I flipped that script and thought, what if something is right with me? What if my anxiety isn't a mistake? some terrible joke God played, like, sorry, humanity, sorry about that whole ability to be anxious. We must be able to be anxious for a reason. It's our body's way of trying to talk to us. So what is it trying to say? Again, if every thought, feeling, or action leads to us feeling calm or us feeling uptight, that's trying to signal us. So what I would do is I would sit down, I would take deep breaths, I would meditate, and then I would ask my anxiety to come close. And I'm a very visual person, so I would actually ask to make it personified. You can do this too. You can shut your eyes, take some breaths, and go, I want to see my anxiety. What does my anxiety look like? For me, it just looked like this beggar woman covered in pots and pans that hung on to everything. What I realized is my anxiety is like, it's kind of a strange example, but it's like food poisoning, right? When you eat something that could kill you, your body has a really strong reaction and lets you know we need that out of our system and don't ever eat that again. Our anxiety is doing the exact same thing. It means one of your thoughts, feelings, or actions that you were just participating in does not agree with you. What I realized by learning to sit with my anxiety and bring it close, come into harmony and hear it, and write, okay, what was I doing? I realized I wasn't in agreement with my life. I realized a lot of my thoughts were incredibly mean, incredibly toxic. A lot of my relationships were incredibly toxic. My life did not agree with me, and it was making me sick. And I had to be willing to change those things. And that's the easy and hard thing about anxiety, is if you want to stop being anxious, quit doing the things that make you anxious. If you're not getting enough sleep, you need to change it. If your friendships, even if you've had them a long time, don't nourish you and don't make you happy and you don't feel better about yourself, you need to change your friendships if you'll just make the commitment to do that. So I would love all of you to committing to making some time for yourself. Making some time for yourself to do this every day. This isn't something where once I figured it out, it's static. Because nothing's static. This isn't a binary world of balance. Life's always changing. So what's in my hoop, what I'm working on, what I'm focusing on, what I'm wanting to energize, new things that come up that I'm wanting to make sure, I'm not tolerating. It's always dynamic and changing. And I'm getting, the more time I spend with myself, the more discerning and the clearer I get about what really matters. What I thought really mattered to me when I first started this exercise versus now are really different. And it's because I know myself better. And we spend so much time getting to know things, but we don't spend a lot of time getting to know ourselves. And if I'm not intimate with myself, what I want, what works for me and what doesn't work for me, if I'm not giving myself time to do that, I'm just opening myself up to being vulnerable to let anything in my life sway me. Because I don't have a strong rudder. I don't have a strong yes and I don't have a strong no. And then I get co-opted into other people's agendas. And that happened to me so much in my life. Every really horrible thing that happened in my life, I can sum it up to that one thing. That I didn't have a good strong yes and a good strong no. And I let somebody with a stronger opinion hijack my dreams and my purpose, hijack my yeses and my nos. And I was kind of co-opted into their stream and carried along in their river, if you will, of life. So please make a commitment to do this. I really want to thank you guys for joining me. For really simple, doable, practicable exercises, go to my website. It's jewelneverbroken.com. You can also go to our Twitch page. On Twitch, it's Inspire House. You'll meet a lot of the kids in my foundation who teach meditation and yoga, and are just really great people to be around and be mentored. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you got a lot out of this. Bye.